Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unfuck Your Mind. I'm your host, Zach Lyotas. In today's podcast, I have Elvira V. Hopper. She's a former inauthentic, ego-driven crap magnet who turned into an authentic, truth-driven miracle magnet who wants to serve the world to connect to their truth, live their dreams, and leave the world better than their purpose. She helps beautiful, heart-centered men and women get out of their own effing, meaning fear and ego way, so they can create a miracle life, the life of their dreams and bigger purpose. The bonus is that the work that Elvira does helps those struggling with personal darkness, mental and physical health issues, naturally, no drugs or therapy. Please help me welcome Elvira V. Hopper. Welcome to the show, darling.
Oh my gosh, it's such a joy to be here with you, Zach.
So much fun. And I want to start off first by saying that this is a meeting that we got connected basically today. We met on LinkedIn first. You contacted me, and then I found you on Facebook. And here we are today just talking as if we know each other for like all our lives. And it's so beautiful that this type of energy, this flow that we're in, is so connected and so aligned that I have goosebumps as I'm saying this to you right now. I'm so happy that I connected to a soul sister or a twin flame sister or whatever type of a sister you are. So thank you for sharing your vibe and energy with me and my Unfuck Your Mind group. So, yeah.
Oh my God. You're making me cry. Honestly, what a beautiful introduction. And I really believe that we have had other lives together, Zach. More than one, probably. I'm no past life expert, but I just feel it in my heart and soul. And that's not even my jazz band, by the way, heart and soul. Little plug for me there. But I really feel that, you know, it's no coincidence. I always say no coincidences, only God incidences, or whatever you believe in, incidences. Because if we choose to be spirit-led, to be led by our intuition, our higher self, you know, it's just going to be with flow and with grace and ease. And that's the space you live in. That's the space I live in. I want the world to live in that space. Don't you?
I want everyone to walk around with a smile on the face like they're on some sort of drug and it's the high. And I just want them to be like, I get it. Like, be in that space, regardless of what's going on in your life. Guess what? This too shall pass. And yeah, absolutely. It feels so good. It feels so connected. But I'm going to check into past lives because I do past life regression. So I am going to look into past lives.
That is so cool. Oh my God, I love it.
Definitely going to look into that. But I do feel it's such a connection because my heart is opening and opening and opening as we speak. So I know that there's a massive past life connection there. And who knows? We could have been working together. You could have been my mom. I could have been your mom. We could have been, you know, we could have been whatever it was.
Who knows?
We are here today.
Yay!
My Italian goddess with your Greek goddess.
Oh!
You know?
I love it.
And we're sharing the word with the universe and humanity, which is amazing. So let's go back to your inauthentic, ego-driven crap magnet life that you were living, because I find that the energy that we're flowing in, as much as it's elevated and awakening for many people, there's still people that are inauthentic within themselves. So let's start there. Where were you when you lived that life?
Wow, that's a great question. And it's so funny to even think I was that person, because I've been doing this for now 8 years. I've been a coach and I've, you know, been able to live the life of my dreams, create it and live it. Yeah, but there was a time, Zach, when really, you know, I mean, I want to take the story back just a little bit if I could. As a little girl, I remember going to this amazing cabaret show with my dad. And he actually worked downstairs, and there was this cabaret going on upstairs. And I remember like always loving singing and dancing and acting. And it was just my joy to do that. And I remember going to this show when I was 11 years old. And I was this fat little Italian kid in the audience. There was no kids in the audience except for me. And I think he was babysitting me that night and he just stuck me there. I'm not sure. I forget what the exact circumstances were. But anyway, I'm there and I'm watching these amazing women on stage. And I'm looking at them. They're singing and they're dancing and they're beautiful. Their hair and their outfits and they're just like goddesses up there. And I'm just like in awe. Like my jaw is totally dropped the whole show. And then afterwards, my dad introduces me because he worked downstairs. So he knew them. They worked upstairs. He said, you know, ladies, this is my daughter, Elvira. And they said, "Oh, Joe, this is your daughter? She's so beautiful." And I'm looking at them going, "I'm beautiful? Like, I'm a fat little Italian kid. You're beautiful, right?" And I remember thinking, oh my God, these women are me, like just in the future. Like I felt like so connected to them. And they saw me because they could see that this little sister that resonated with them too, obviously, right? So afterwards, you know what? I said to my dad, "Daddy, I want to be one of them when I grow up." At 11 years old, I knew what I wanted to do. And you know what my dad said? "Elvira, you can't be one of those women because those women are sluts." And that was it.
Oh, the great old judgment, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Italian dad. Yeah,
yeah.
Italian dad wanted to protect his daughter. You know, here's the irony. My dad was an amazing tenor. My aunt was an opera singer. Neither one of them did anything with their art. They died with their music still in them. So here's my story, Zach. I became a professional when I went through my inauthentic life that I'll tell you about in a second, but I want to just jump ahead and say, when I left behind my 27 years of inauthentic living, first a lab technologist, then an award-winning pharmaceutical rep, at the end of those last 2 years, I was in depression, anxiety, panic disorder, suicidal ideation. That was the universe waking me up to say, okay, you know what, Elvira? You didn't do it back then, but now you get a chance to live your truth. And I became a professional jazz singer at the age of 51. And I work with Juno award-winning artists on world-class jazz stages. So what does that tell you? It tells you that when you have the right mindset, when you, as you like to say, unfuck yourself, you can create the life of your dreams. You can create the miracle life. That's why I'm a miracle mindset coach, right? And the system that I was gifted with that helped me out of this dark place without drugs, without therapy, is called the Love Your Vibe Miracle Mindset. And I was simply the first person to be served by this. And it actually has become a world movement, believe it or not. It's this whole online system called the Love Your Vibe Transformation. And I'm rolling it out this year in a big way. So I don't think it's a coincidence that we're having this conversation, that I'm getting to share this with your beautiful audience. Yeah, so really, does that kind of answer your question, Zach?
Yeah, it's like miracles come true, dreams come true. And we are all in it to win it and find happiness, even in our darkness, because within that darkness are the best answers. Within that panic is the best visions, all that stuff that you suffered from, all the judgments, all the beliefs that your dad put on you, that you can't do that, they're sluts. Well, you know what? That's your own judgment. That's your own perception. But yet that's the belief that was put into you. And until you released all those beliefs, you weren't able to get on that stage. And now look at you. Like, I look at you, you do not look 52.
I'm actually 56.
I know. But you look like you're 45 for crying out loud.
Oh.
Like, you're living in your authenticness. And I find when people live in their authenticness, they look younger and younger as years go by.
I just posted that today on Facebook. I talked about how, what is the cost of you not living your truth? And in it, in my post, it says, you age faster when you are not connected to your truth, right? I've frozen time because I'm living in my truth. And I don't say that to brag. I just say, this is what's possible for all of us when we unfuck ourselves, when we get out of our own effing way, you know? We do look younger. We can stop time. Because when someone's connected to their truth, it's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like spirit saying, yes, you've connected to your truth. Now I'm going to get you to look as young as possible for as long as possible so you can inspire others to live their truth. I don't know. I just feel like there's a reason for it. You know, I think our cells just, you know, slow down because we are living in alignment, you know, and our DNA just gets, it just kind of stops getting old, you know, like there's actual proof. Like if you look at, you know, the work of, you know, the epigenetic stuff that Dr. Bruce Lipton's done. I know Dr. Joe Dispenza, I'm listening to some of his work right now. Amazing, amazing scientists that prove this is an actual thing, you know, that our cells, you know, can actually age backwards or stop aging, you know. Yeah, so thank you for that. And thanks for letting me share that.
Yeah, well, I always think of it this way. When you're happy, like, what is really stopping you from glowing? Nothing. And glow is an internal ignition to keep going, because that happiness creates more happiness and makes other people happy. But when you're in that state of ego, that what did I just say? The effing
way? Yeah.
which is the fear and ego way, right? Which is the fear and ego way. All you're constantly doing is you're thinking. And it's almost like, I have so many gray hairs and I'm keeping my hair to go gray because right now I'm like, listen, this is all the wisdom that I carry with me because of getting in my effing way, which is my fear and ego way, and not allowing my spirit to shine. So when I allowed for that to happen, just like when you allowed for happen, it's like all of a sudden we feel younger, we feel more vibrant, we have more energy, we want to connect with people. We want everyone to feel this, whatever this is.
Yes.
Right? Like just talking to you for a half an hour before we started this, it's like, oh, I could feel this. I'm feeling this. Let's get the show on the go because it feels so good that our audience, because we're one, is going to reap from this, right? And that's what it comes down to is that we're all in it together. We're all in this to help each other come out. So what was your biggest turning point? I want to know because you went through depression, you went through anxiety, panic, suicidal ideology, been there, done it all. I get it. But what was your biggest breaking point? I want to know that.
Yeah. Well, I would say it was the suicidal ideation. That's how I call it. You call it ideology, but I call it ideation because I basically said, I don't want to live like this anymore. If I have to continue living like this, give me a way to get out of this life. And I had a 10-year-old little boy at that time. So think about how sad that must have been. But I literally said, I don't want to go living like this anymore. I didn't want to take drugs. I saw what drugs did to my dad because my dad suffered from depression, anxiety, panic disorder, suicidal ideation. I was a pharmaceutical rep. He took drugs. He was a shell of himself. I knew what drugs did to our body. So I just never, ever wanted to go that route. And I had 2 years of therapy. So I knew how long it took to get over my issues in therapy. And I just said, can't do it anymore. I need a way that's fast. I need a way that's going to save me. And sure enough, my higher power gave me this system called the Love Your Vibe Miracle Mindset. And I've never gone back to the darkness since. And I've never taken, drugs for it. So now I feel like I am meant to be an advocate for mental health as well, because this is an alternative therapy. And we're talking about possibly doing some work together, you and I, Zach, with some other people, because at least in our GTA area where we live, the mental health system is broken, and there's just not enough people getting the help they need. And I believe you and I have our magic that can help people get out of their darkness naturally, with mindset work, with healing work. I'm also a sacred sound healer. I just got certified for that. And, there's so many other ways than just taking drugs and therapy, right? So yeah, the lowest was when I just said, give me a way out of this hell or give me a way of killing myself. And I got the way out of the hell given to me. That was my lowest. Yeah.
I feel like crying all of a sudden because it brought me back to my couch when, I was having a moment. I was watching, what's her name? She's a pastor, famous pastor on TV. I can't remember what her name is right now. It doesn't matter. And I was sitting there and I started getting a panic attack. And I was like, God, I can't do this anymore. I got to end this because I'm going to lose my mind right now. I'm about to lose my shit. And it was that moment when I heard, go for a walk.
Wow.
And from that moment, that go for a walk, I'm holding back my tears. It's really,
I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I understand, I get where you came from. It's like either kill me or show me the way. And it's interesting because I've been down that path so many times and I felt like I had to go visit the path and I feel we all have to visit our path because we find our power in that path. And the longer that we stay in that darkness, I don't think people realize that the more powerful you are.
Yes. Yes. You and I are light workers. We've had to go to the dark because we are meant to show people that you can find the light. By us being in such a dark place, Zach, we are able to say to others that are still there, you can find the light too, because we found it, right? Yeah. And that's the only way to do it. Like, this is why I love my tribe. They're people that have been to dark places, but they know they're here for something more, and they simply need to be shown what their thing is. They kind of know what it is, but they haven't really stepped into their power yet. And I support them, and I know you do the same. So I think it's amazing.
Our tribes are the same, by the way.
Are they? Oh my God. So 4 people to serve together. Yeah.
This is our tribe, right? And this is why I did this podcast on Fuck Your Mind, because everyone that goes through that suffering, I believe, and I'm sure you believe the same thing too, because we have this connection, is that, you know, it doesn't feel like no one else is going through it when you're going through it. But when you actually sit back and listen, you'll realize that everyone has gone through it. And yes, you are your greatest hero. We're all light workers, I find. Those that are going through the darkness is all light workers, but we just can't find that passion within ourselves because we've been so dumped on of creating who we're not rather than being allowed to create who we are.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
True. And I find that when I help people come out of that dark, they're the most powerful healers. I'm just like, damn girl, or damn guy, like, holy shit, like I think you're more powerful than me. And it's like, no one's more powerful than anyone, you know. It's like that superhero. It's like Spider-Man and Superman, right? And that's why I think why we got connected, because there's always power in a group. And the more that we get to talk about the depression, anxiety, like it has such a bad stigma. It's not only here, it's around the world. I really wish I pulled up the statistics. I look at stats of depression a lot because it keeps me on that track to stay focused on that. I really wished I pulled up the stats, but you know, you'd be surprised because I have clients in Australia and I'm like, you live in Australia where the weather is beautiful. You got the ocean, you're depressed. And it doesn't matter where you live. It's what's inside of you that's bad.
Exactly. It's mindset, and it's, I believe, living in alignment with your truth. When you live out of alignment with your truth, you are going to go to the dark places. You're either going to go to fixes, you know, and habits and addictions to deal with your pain, or you're going to go to dark places. But when you get in alignment with who you truly are and why you were brought here, holy shit, the everything just takes off in your life, you know, like you're connected to your bigger purpose, your dharma, as the I believe it's the Hindus that call it that. I call it your unique legacy. You know, how's the world going to remember Zach when she's gone one day? You know, probably with unfuck yourself, right? Because of all the work that you've done. And for me, it's going to be love your vibe. That's my unique legacy, right? And I'm here to, you know, for people to realize they can live their truth, they can live their authentic self. They don't have to be their ego self, which is false, which is trying to get the world to think that they're fabulous because inside they feel like a piece of shit. It's about really valuing yourself on the inside so that the world then comes to you, you know, and your purpose. Like if you're here to serve in a certain way, it's not about pushing, it's about being yourself and being that magnet that attracts everything with flow, with grace, with ease. And I know you get it. And I do believe that, you know, was no coincidence we were brought together, because I think there's more we can do to serve. And that's another point that I think is really important. And I really want to mention, Zach, is that, you know, there's so many women in the world that are in competition with each other. And, you know, when they do the same thing, it's almost like they block each other and they say, okay, she's not there because she does the same thing I do. Well, you know what? I don't believe that shit. I believe that we are all here for our own unique reason. And it is slightly different than the next person. And we do have our own tribe. But even if we can just elevate the whole cause, like you and I getting together, we do such similar work. But I think we can support one another, work in collaboration, not competition, so that we can take our work to the next level and serve even more people and have more visibility and a bigger voice worldwide. So, you know, I do believe that's possible, right? It's not about competition with women. It's about collaboration. Because like you said, we're one. We are one humanity, and we, you know, you hurting is me hurting, you know, me hurting is you hurting, because we're all connected at a deep soul level. That's what I believe. So just to share that piece.
Yeah. And it's true. You know what? When you first get into the spiritual world, that's what you kind of feel like, oh, I don't want to give them clients, or I don't want to talk about them because they do the same work as I do. But one thing that I noticed is that I'm holding away people from really being in their authentic self because they might not be able to connect with me. So maybe they came to me because they want me to guide them to you, for example. So I'll be like, you know, you're not working with me, but here, I'm going to give you this person that does the same thing I do, but they're maybe a little more gentler than I am, because I could be a bull in a china shop. Like, you know, come on, because that's the way I was with me. So only a certain type of person could work with me. You might be more gentler. I always have a friend that I always say, oh, she's my divine feminine. Like, she really is that loving, nurturing. It's not like I'm not loving and nurturing, but I'm always like, okay, let's jump, let's go.
You're badass.
I know it's this, but let's do it. But I want to go back because you said it's really aligning with your, it's really coming into alignment with who you are. I want you to share that with the audience. How do they get into that place of alignment? Because I could hear the question, well, how do I do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, that's the work. That's the work that I do. I do it with my clients one-on-one. You know, I do retreats, I do workshops, I have an online course now that people get to have that information through 5 videos. It takes 2 to 3 hours to complete. It's called the VIP Mindset Reset Online. Check it out at elvirahopper.com if you're interested. But that's really about learning the system that helps you to get out of your ego self and get into your true self. I call that space your VAP, your vibration of authentic power. It's not about your ego power. It's about allowing spirit to use you and be your authentic self. Because when you're your authentic self, you are connected to spirit, and spirit has almost like a direct line to you. When you're living out of alignment, it's like spirit can't even speak to you because you're so all about you. And I don't know if you know this this old saying, but Dr. Wayne Dyer, God rest his soul, he said, ego stands for edging God out. So when, you know, God or spirit or source, whatever you believe in the universe, when you keep that spirit, that source, that God in the picture, and you stay in alignment, then everything flows with grace and ease. And that's how you know you're connected. And so when it doesn't feel good, you're not connected, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. So being connected with grace and ease, and if it doesn't feel good, that's your ego. Because I wanted to clear that up because people have this difficulty getting into alignment, and I wanted to make sure because I could hear the question, well, how do you do that? So thank you for that. But I have a love for my ego, and I never had a love for my ego, but I do have a love for my ego. So I wanted to say this because a lot of people have this misconception with the ego. And when I came out of depression, it was my ego that said, when is enough enough?
Right.
As much as my spirit was standing there, it was my ego that said, when is enough enough? And I looked at the ego and first I said, fuck you, right? Because I was pissed at it, which is me. So I was pissed at me, not at anything external from me, but me. And I said, what is it that I need to do? And it was my ego that gave me the guidance as much as my spirit did. It was my ego said this and this and this get you in this emotional state. So why do you continue doing that? And spirit would be like, okay, so you're going to listen to me now? Like, is it my turn? Because look at what ego's saying to you. Right. So I don't look at ego as anything negative. I look at it as part of us, right? And as much as it's edging God out, it's also giving you a glimpse of that God aspect of who you are, because you know who you don't want to be. You don't want the guilt, the suffering, the resentment, all that stuff. So that part will bring you towards that higher universe, whatever God, source, light. So I always say, become friends with your ego, because your ego is your greatest teacher. It'll teach you what you don't want to connect more with what you do want.
Yes. Like Abraham Hicks says, right? The gift of contrast. You get to see what you don't want, so you can get clarity and create what it is you do want. Yeah, I do agree with that. We just have slightly different definitions in terms of how we see the ego, but I think we're kind of saying the same thing, just in different language. I really just, you know, I kind of oversimplify it because I think that more people need this work. And I'm a simple girl, so I'll take, you know, big concepts and kind of really simplify them, right? So that's how I've done it. But I love what you're talking about as well, and that's what saved you, and that's fantastic. And yeah, for me, like I speak kindly to my ego because I know it shows up every morning and it wants to wants to drive the car, but I talk to it kindly and I say, ego, you're only 3 years old. I talk to my ego like it's a 3-year-old child. I said, ego, you're only 3 years old. Please get in the back seat. Me and spirit are going to drive the car today, right? So I know it's there trying to protect me, but I won't let it take over, right? No. So it's also my shadow, and I love my shadow. I know that that's not what I am. I'm my higher self. So yeah, the ego does serve its purpose. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And I love that, because I wanted to know what your interpretation was of the ego. So thank you for that, because you just answered my question. Get out of my mind. You're reading my mind now. All right. So I want ask you another question here. What does spirituality mean to you?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so spirituality, it's an important element of the work that I do in the Love Your Vibe Miracle Mindset, because religion did not save my life. When I was in a dark place, 2 years of depression, anxiety, panic disorder, suicidal ideation, the fact that I'm Roman Catholic did not save my life, okay? So that to me is religion. Spirituality, however, did save my life. The Love Your Vibe Miracle Mindset to me is my spirituality. So there's that old saying that goes, do you know the difference between religion and spirituality?
Yeah.
Do you know? Okay, what would your answer be for that?
Well, to me, spirituality is one.
Yeah.
Religion is created consciously by people that all
Right.
vibrate the same vibration.
Right, for sure. And that's a beautiful definition. The definition I like to use to show people the difference, to get that distinction, is religion is for people who are afraid of hell. Spirituality is for people who have been to hell.
I love it.
Isn't that great?
I love it.
Yay, right? Isn't that amazing?
I love it.
Yeah. So I've been to hell. I've been to hell. You've been to hell. We have our spirituality that helped us out of it. And it's connecting to our truth. The fact that we are spiritual beings in this body. We're not just meat suits. We are, in essence, living these meat suits. That's our spirituality. We are one with the divine source that created us, because we are divine, created by that source. So to me, if the whole world knew that they were divine and that they are spiritual beings, and it's not about religion that separates us, it's about that oneness, that unity consciousness that connects us. Can you imagine what the world would look like?
I know.
If we all got that?
The one thing that I do say was religion was my foundation, because if it wasn't for
Yes.
going to church as a young child, I wouldn't know the
Yes.
power
Yes,
that
yes.
I had. So as a spiritual being, when I hear other spiritual practitioners speak negative about religion, I ask myself the question, how spiritual really are you? Aren't we supposed to be one? Isn't everything supposed to be love?
Yeah.
So that's
It
awesome.
is.
So I'm glad. I love the way you said that. It was
I
like
love that you love it.
religious people are afraid of hell, and spiritual people been there and back. I'm going to use that one. I'm going to
Absolutely.
I love
Please
that.
do.
It's true.
You don't even have to quote me, just use it. No, seriously. And you're right. Like my religion gave me a foundation. Like when I was a little girl, I loved going to church because it was this foundation of the rituals that were the same every week, because at home I had a very unhappy childhood. So my parents would actually send me to church so they could stay home and, I don't know, probably argue. It was not an easy life. Like we were immigrants, we came from Italy, and they would send me to church. They didn't come with me. And for me, it was my salvation as a little girl. But I believe religion can only take you so far. And when you as a light worker have your transformation and religion was not a part of it, then you transform, you become a different person.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. Yeah.
That's so true. I love it. I love it. I love it. So another question. These are all questions coming down and I love them. What would one piece of advice would you say to your younger self? What's one piece of advice that you would say to your younger self?
Oh my gosh. So inner child work is a big part of the work that I do too. So when you say that, I get tears in my eyes because my inner child is such a beautiful little girl. And I obviously did not grow up thinking that way. And I had very low self-esteem. I was not supported. I ate my emotions. I was a fat little kid, like I said. So if I was to go back and tell that little 11-year-old something, I would say, don't worry, sweetheart. One day you're going to be on a world-class jazz stage and you're going to be so happy.
I love it. I love it. And you are on that world-class jazz stage and no one stole your dream because your dream was literally living inside of you. You just had to pull that cap off. I always say the eagle puts a cap on your spiritual growth. So you just have to pull that cap off. And once you pulled that cap off, you were flying.
I love that you said that because one of my sayings, if you go on my Facebook, the 5 pictures that are your sort of representative pictures, one of them is me singing with my beautiful magic mic. And it's like the Elvis old-fashioned mic. And above me says, if you don't give up on your dream won't give up on you because it's in you. And you need to become the person that allows that dream to happen. Get out of your own effing way or unfuck yourself, as you like to say, and just do it. And that's it. That's it.
And it's true. And you know what? That's what actually keeps me going. There's times where I want to throw in the towel and not do this work because it takes a toll on me. And I always go back to that little girl and she says, you remember what people have told you. There's only a few of you on the world with the wisdom that you carry inside of you. So you better go out there and share that wisdom because you've been told this, and how many times have you reminded? So I get what that means. And that little girl came up the other day and she said, are you ready? Because you still haven't done what we wanted you to do. And it's scary as fuck, absolutely, because now you're going to a different level. Now you're going to see different things. More eyes are on you, right? Yeah. But it's so beautiful and gracious and glorious and everything. So I said, yeah, I'm doing it this year, I said. And they said, good, we can't wait, because not only your life is going to change, but everyone's life is going to change. And that's the conversation you and I both had when you sing. It's like you're at that vibrational frequency. You're activating people in your audience. Like you're bringing them the word, even though it's
and they're healing. They're healing. Yes, it's not about me and my ego and looking good on the stage. It's about my audience healing and being inspired to go do their dream, no matter how old they are, you know, and to know that they're, you know, if they've got a passion in them, they need to get out of their own way so that that passion can manifest in them, you know, because if you see me and you're inspired or maybe triggered by what I do, it's because you're not doing your thing. So that's what I do. I trigger people, I heal them, I inspire them. I do all sorts of stuff, but it's not about me. It's about my service, right? And that's what I love. The second half of my life is all about service. The first half was all ego. It was all about me, you know?
All about learning.
Yes. You know, like I worked in a lab for 7 years. I wanted to slit my wrist. That was not who I was. Well, that's the part that I didn't tell you about. You know, after I was told you couldn't be a singer because those women aren't nice women. I said, okay, who do you need me to be so that you can love me? And I became a people pleaser, and I chose lab technology because they wanted me to be a doctor and I didn't have the mark. So I went into working in a hospital in a lab. I wore the white lab coat. They felt that they arrived as parents because their daughter was wearing a white lab coat. So I made them happy so that I could be loved, right? This is what we do. We give away our power so that we can be loved. And it's sad, but so many of us do it, especially raised in my culture, possibly I think your culture as well. We as women give away our power so easily. So I was the people pleaser, and you know, after 7 years, I wanted to slit my wrist. I got plucked out to be a pharmaceutical rep, and that was better because, you know, I wasn't working in a lab and, you know, basically, you know, head down all day, not talk to people. So now I'm talking to people, but I'm still feeling like an imposter. Every single day I thought somebody was going to come in and take me out and say, you don't know what the hell you're doing. You're not a scientific professional. But that's what the world thought I was, you know? So I put up a good front. I faked it. I was an imposter. And now that I'm living my truth, it's no effort. It's like, it's just easy, right? So yeah, I feel like that part was important to mention too.
For sure, because everyone sells their soul to receive a little bit of love, and that love feels so good. And this is the thing that I teach a lot of people, is that when you love yourself and don't worry if someone else loves you, you actually feel more vibrant with that. So I get it, because I did the same thing too. I became a dental assistant so that I could feel love. So I get it. I know exactly where you're coming from.
Oh my God, we both have a medical background. That's hilarious.
And I wanted to slit my wrist too. Trust me, every day. And I had a dentist the greatest dentist ever. But when his wife showed up, it was like hell showed up. And he used to throw the equipment at me if I gave him the wrong tool, because I was doing, you know, as an assistant, you're doing 1,000 things at once. And I'll never forget the day he threw a tool and he told me what he wanted. And I go, you know what? I threw it and I go, you take it then, because I'm not going to give it to you. Don't treat me like that. And he gave me a raise the next day. But I know we got to go. And I have one more question for you. See, when you stand in the car, you get a raise because they don't want to lose you, right?
Yeah. I love that.
The final question before we go here, love, is what would be a piece of advice you could give someone that's going through the darkness, that's just yearning, is listening to this and going, I could relate with her, I could relate with them, I could relate with this. What is the one piece of advice? What is that golden nugget that you could give them before we go?
Wow, that is a great question. I mean, I just want to say, hang in there. If you're listening to this podcast, there's a reason you're listening to it, and your job is simply to take one little action step. What is it that you believe is the next step for you to get out of your own way? you do the work, Zach? Is it something that they're meant to do with you? Is it them to go and get my course online? Is it for them to reach out to some organization that has spoken to them in the past? Just take one baby step in that direction. Listen to your soul, get quiet and just say, what is it you need me to do, Spirit? What is it you need me to do, universe? Whatever, however you refer to your higher power, just ask for that step and it will be revealed.
So beautiful. Just take that first step, right? Take that first step. Even if it's hard, take that first step and reach out for help. That was one thing that I just reached out to God because I knew I had a gift and I knew I just had to listen. But I did reach out to people, and it's true. Once you reach out and recognize that other people had gone down that same path that you've been down and where they are now, and they could take you there, life does change. Well, thank you so much for this.
Oh, my total pleasure.
I feel like I'm looking at the clock, and then kept on saying, don't miss the clock with you two. You guys are going to go on forever if you don't look at that clock. So that's why I'm here. Thank you so much for this impromptu call that we put together this morning.
Honest to God, Zach, you are pure joy. I've done a lot of these podcasts, and you are just simply the most amazing creature. And this was more fun than anything I've ever done before. So thank you for being that.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah. For our audience that's listening, the show notes, look at the show notes. You want to get a hold of Elvira, go down there. She's on Facebook. She's on Instagram. She's on LinkedIn. Go get her course if you feel aligned to her. Connect with her. Guys, all you need to do is have the courage to take that first step, and it becomes easier and easier after that. Thank you for listening to Unfuck Your Mind, and stay tuned for our next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.